In a traditional application, user devices send data to a single central server. If that server goes down, every connection is disrupted, a single point of failure. A decentralized app bypasses this, spreading operations across a distributed blockchain network of equal nodes. Yet, if you're the person tapping the screen on your phone, you wouldn't notice the difference. To the end user, a dApp looks and feels exactly like a regular application. So, what kind of engineer builds these hybrid systems? That is the role of a blockchain developer, the architect responsible for bridging a smooth, user-friendly interface with a decentralized backend network. Becoming one requires mastering an entirely different architectural stack from the ground up, starting with the logic that governs the network. In traditional software, developers use centralized databases to store and process data. In blockchain development, they write smart contracts. These are programs that act like little autonomous digital robots, executing specific rules exactly as written. But these contracts come with a massive constraint: immutability. Once you deploy a smart contract to the blockchain, its code is permanently locked in. It can never be edited, patched, or updated. To write these rigid programs, developers primarily use a language called Solidity, which is the standard for the Ethereum network. Beginners usually start writing and testing their Solidity code in a web browser using a tool called Remix IDE. It allows you to see how the contract behaves immediately without setting up a complex local environment. From there, the workflow moves to Hardhat. This is a local development environment where engineers can run professional, enterprise-level tests to debug their contracts before pushing them live. Testing is critical because of a second constraint: execution cost. In a decentralized network, every computational operation your code performs costs the user money. This makes studying data structures and algorithms essential. Developers engineer highly efficient, direct paths through their code to minimize transaction fees. Back-end blockchain development requires a high-stakes mindset. Your code has to be ruthlessly optimized, and it has to be perfect on the very first try. Of course, everyday users aren't going to read raw smart contract code to use an application. The developer also has to build a front-end layer, a standard visual interface with familiar buttons, layouts, and text fields. To do this, they rely on traditional web languages like JavaScript or TypeScript and use popular frameworks like React to construct the layout. At this stage, the process is functionally identical to standard Web 2 software development, but this creates an architectural problem. A traditional React frontend cannot natively communicate with a decentralized smart contract. To fix this, developers use specialized Web3 libraries. These act as connective tissue, bridging the gap to plug the visual interface into the blockchain. A functioning dApp is only complete when the developer successfully links these two radically different environments: a flexible, dynamic user interface on one side and a strict, unchangeable backend on the other. Mastering this multi-layered architecture requires a highly structured, chronological approach to learning. This diagram illustrates a typical 10-month learning roadmap. Notice that the journey begins entirely outside of crypto. The first 2 months are spent building a foundation, mastering general programming languages like Python or JavaScript, alongside version control systems like Git. From there, you move into the middle months. Here, you study those crucial data structures before finally learning Solidity and testing your own smart contracts using Hardhat. The final stretch focuses on that connective tissue, spending the last few months mastering React for the front end and Web3 libraries to tie the entire application together. Managing this level of complexity requires consistency. Dedicating 3 to 5 hours of study every day provides the repetition necessary to prevent these specialized concepts from becoming overwhelming. By systematically moving up this architectural stack, it is possible to transition from having zero coding experience to landing an entry-level blockchain developer role in about 8 to 10 months. You emerge with the precise toolkit needed to build and deploy your own decentralized applications.